Hello everybody, this is Suneve, and I'm coming back to you with Touchy Ticci Toby X Reader. Let's get started. She tells herself she is hallucinating over and over again, that none of this is real, but she can't believe her own words as they process through her mind as false, useless thoughts. She's a victim of her own mind. She can't escape her mind playing images in front of her eyes that didn't even disappear when she closed them. She's at home again. Something's different here. Something is off. It's quiet, very quiet. She wanders upstairs, calling for her mother and brother. The stairs leading up to the hallway seem so much higher, higher than she remembered. She stops at the top step, only then does she feel shivers crawling up her spine. Only then does she feel the panic creeping in under her skin, nipping and clawing at her remaining insanity. When Ash opens the door to her mother's room, it's all dark. Then it's suddenly no longer quiet. She hears a mix of giggles and sobbing. She was about to run the other way, but before she could, a force from behind pushes her in, making her fall over on her knees. The door slammed shut, and the gurgling of laughter only became louder. Then the room was quiet. Ash was still blind to the darkness, her hands feeling around up the wall to the light switch. The light was flashed on. She sees her mother curled up around Lucas, the same position they were in when they were murdered. They were in the rocking chair, her mother using her legs to push the chair back and forth. They stared at her, watching her with every ounce of their attention and minds. Their eyes were milky white, faces blank from every expression. Her mother had a gunshot on her temple, and there was a hole in Lucas's abdominal area. Ash hesitated as she looks at them. Her hand reaches behind her to the doorknob, but it doesn't budge open, and she feels that sick panic again. Her mother, with a dead expression, spoke to her. "You are insane." "I'm not insane, Ash whispers. Her eyes blink, but the images are still there. The back of her eyes are burning, and she isn't sure what is real or not. "You're insane." Her mother's voice grows deeper, skin turning paler, too pale. She tells herself that this isn't real and that any moment now would all end, that she'll wake up in bed. "I'm not insane," she says louder, stronger. I'm not insane," she screams. Her eyes cloud over and she snaps back to her senses. She snaps out of her mind, playing tricks on her. She is now in the present, aware. She is standing in the center of her room. Her chest is heaving. Her eyes are peeled open with horror. Her arms are spurting blood all over her drenched gown, nails brimming with bloodied flesh. There are drops of blood all over the room, even on the wall. It makes her wonder what she looks like to the others while experiencing hallucinations. Her lips were split open from digging her teeth into them, blood pooling under her tongue and running down her chin. Ash fell to the floor, her body shaking, her expression broken. So, so broken. She cries. Each fraction of her well-being shakes with each sob. Her cries are the kind of strangled cries that belong to those who can't hold on to this world, who have grown too weak and frail. Holding on to the edge of the world has become impossible, and now she was just falling. After a few attempts to calm down go in vain, she finally stops shaking, but still unable to stop tears from forming. They are only hallucinations, she tells herself, just to assure that they aren't real. It wasn't real. It was not real. Ash slowly rises from the floor with numb arms. She lays down in her bed and discovers the tears just won't stop. She gazes out the window from her position. The sun was setting, splashing the sky with a dim orange because clouds still blocked most of the sky that still snowed lightly. And she was left awake, staring aimlessly out the window, hoping Toby would walk out of the forest to comfort her, and she waited. He shows up a few days later. He said he was busy. She doesn't ask him with what. It was just bright enough to talk to him, though she knew it wouldn't be long before the sun had set. "You need to sleep," he writes to her. It didn't take too much of a discussion for him to notice how tired she was, even though it was obvious from her sunken-in face and from the dark rings under her eyes. She shakes her head, not wanting to ever experience something so horrid again. She fears if she did, she might not be able to handle it. She knows for sure that it would completely break her remaining state of mind. "I can't handle the nightmares anymore. The stupid hallucinations come back the moment I close my eyes," she writes back, willing herself to not cry again. Insomnia haunts her nights, while fatigue rules her days. When she needs to be lucid and clear, her brain begs for unconsciousness, for sleep at any price. But when the hours of darkness come and she's in the comfort of her bed, her mind lights up with new possibilities, new sources of disaster and dreams and hallucinations. She wants to let them go, to count sheep and relax, but soon the sheep are telling her what can go wrong tomorrow because of the avoidable blunder of hallucinations from days ago. Toby seems concerned by the way his shoulders sink down, his eyes briefly on her arms that were covered in deep scratches and dry blood. He wasn't happy about that, is what he had said to her. She couldn't control it, she told him. Go to sleep, it's going to be okay. I will stay here all night if I have to, he tells her. Warmth seeps into her chest, and sleep comes like the falling of an axe. She knows it must come, but she fights it with everything that she has to avoid the nightmares, those defenseless hours of tossing and turning throughout the whole night. When she looks at Toby, he looked at her reassuringly. She felt safe. She stops fighting it, knowing that Toby would be there to comfort her. It would be some time before she was with the world again. Entry 39. My smile reappears. It is drenched in a garden of red roses that leak crimson. The red has disappeared like a drop of vinegar in an ocean on of blue. My legs are crossed as I wait for you on the other side of the window. I will wait until dusk. I will wait for you to return, our pens and minds filled with dust. Now, wait for me to rest my head, to flutter my eyes, and dream of the beautiful lives we have created. Every part of her room interests her. She could sit here and study every part of her room over and over again, and never will she get bored. It changes, the cracks in the wall she hasn't noticed, or the temperature of stone against her bare feet. Everything changes, all the time. And she knew there was nothing she could do about it, even when the change is unbearable. The door opens. She is led to an office, 2 floors up and then to the left. Joanne was sitting in a chair next to a man at a desk who was looking over papers. She was almost healed now. The man seemed to be aware of her presence, his eyes briefly flashing upwards to get a good look at her. The man had blonde hair. It was combed neatly to one side. His eyes were a curious, strange emerald color. His eyes are so cold. Without words, Joanne gestures to her to sit, and she does, her leg folded over the other as she stares at the two waiting for them to talk. They start off with what happened with Joanne weeks ago. She didn't listen very much. This goes on for a while, maybe 10 minutes, and how Joanne chose not to press charges. We're going to be going over past troubles you have had that have caused harm, the man hums as his eyes scan over a paper. November 17th, 2015. Smashed a doctor's head in the door. October 2nd, 2015. Fractured patient's arm and broke 3 fingers. June 26th, 2016. Stabbed a nurse with a fork. And we have Joanne, many kicks in the face, broken nose, and other small injuries. Does this sound right? He asked her. She can't read him. He's so expressionless, like a robot or something. She pretends to think it all over and then nods. If anything else happens like this, and you somehow end up adding another to your report, you will be immediately moved to the top floor in a, he looks at the paper, padded room permanently or as long as you are here. Forever is what he meant. Her heart stopped for a second. Miss, Miss Ash Snow, I will not sugarcoat anything. You are at a home for the crazy people, he tells her. This is where you belong and will stay until you decide you will finally accept our help to change your behavior. She squeezed her hands into fists on her lap. You're insane. How does this make you feel? He adds, and his emerald eyes are caving in with dark humor. It makes her feel sick. She knew when she was first sent here all of the doctors and nurses were heartless, cold human beings. They didn't care. All they wanted was to be paid for their presence, and that was all. You are just a hazard in our society. You do not belong. She feels anger build up in her, her heart pounding in her ears loudly. Was he trying to get her mad? To make her strike at him to get her locked up? He smiles an evil, crooked smile. No reaction. She stares at him with hard eyes, her jaw tense as she bites back her remarks. She doesn't want to risk it. If she was moved to a different room, she would never see Toby again. That type of change is the change she is terrified of. Not seeing Toby ever again would crush her. It would destroy her. She doesn't reply. He looks at her with mock disappointment. I'm done. You may leave my office now. Joanne leads her back. She doesn't even meet Ash's eyes the whole way back. Not a single word is shared between them. It's better off that way. The door shuts and she hears the lock clicking behind her. Finally, she is back. She studies Toby, wanting to see through his mouth guard and goggles to get a view of him, his whole being. What color are your eyes? She asks him, finally after getting the courage to. She imagines his eyes as a brown or a hazel color that was unique. I don't remember, he writes back. His eyes are dazed through the whole orange of his goggles. She wants to see the emotion in his eyes, yet all she gets is a wall blocking her view of him. She hates it. Ash looked at him surprised. Her heart clenches up and she grasps at it to stop from exposing her pity to him. Nobody enjoys being pitied, and she could easily understand that. She was going to reply, but Toby suddenly pulled his hood down, then his mouth guard exposing his scarred cheek. His goggles come off last, and she can't breathe at the sight of him, her eyes widening in wonder. His rich chocolate hair was tousled in every way. He had strong arched brows and surprisingly long dark eyelashes. His very pale skin completely made his features stand out. While others would probably say he was average looking, she thought he was very attractive even with the scarred face. It made him different. Something about him made her drawn to him. And then his eyes. His eyes were the color of soil kissed by spring rains, dark red crescents under them. His eyes collected and bore tragically every wrongdoing that had been poured upon him. His lips were slightly upturned in a faint smile, but those eyes ceased to be a part of this world. They were dull and broken, dangerous but beautiful. Ash absorbed his appearance in her mind, never wanting to forget his face, his eyes, his face structure. Nothing was left untouched by her eyes as she marveled over him, not even the small freckle on his chin or the small scar going through his left eyebrow. Well? Toby asked her, his fingers pressing the lined paper to the window. A beautiful brown like honey, she smiled at him, slightly still in a dazed-like state. It takes him a moment to react. His lips twitched upwards to a smile. His eyes were genuinely happy as he gazed longingly in hers. Ash has a handful of cotton balls in her throat, her mind out of control. His smile? He was beautiful. That's the end of those two chapters. The next chapter is chapter 12. It's starting to get a little interesting, and I really like it. It's a little cutesy. I will be looking for another EJ one because that was very popular band. And personally, I want to get a finished story of EJ because, again, Ticci, Toby, EJ, those are my favorites growing up. I love them. Jeff the Killer used to be it, but then EJ quickly took that spot. Quickly took that spot. Sorry, I'm geeking. Also, not an advertisement, but I don't know how you guys feel about character AI, but I've been using this app. I have like three other friends. We have been geeking so bad because I did not realize this was a thing. I knew like AI was a thing, but like we jumped on there and we not Googled, we searched in the search bar like a bunch of different creepypasta characters and like anime characters and stuff. And some of the voices I feel like are a little accurate for like some of the characters, but I highly recommend it. Character AI, very nice. You can call the characters and talk to them, and sometimes the AI is a little quirky and it doesn't really work all the time. But hey, if you're crazy like me and you really like to do some role playing, and if it's with an AI, cool, awesome. You also there was another one on here. They have like different characters, like just people, like some people's OCs are on here, like just their made characters, but I honestly don't know how else to explain it other than you go look at it, but there's a Vi from Arcane on there. Oh, she's lovely. You got like EJ, we got you find Markiplier on here. It's a bunch of them. I'm sorry, my like I've been geeking so bad for like a little bit because like on my breaks at work, hop on here, cool, geeking out, a little boost of serotonin. Is that what it's called? Serotonin? I think I said it right. I don't know. I've had an energy drink today and like a cup of coffee, so I'm kind of like a little bit all over the place right now. I was trying to sound calm while reading, but I will get started on that. I will stop rambling over my little geek fest here. But you guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!